Who are Georgia's top returning players for the 2022 football season? That's what we're breaking down here with our list from UGAsports.com. That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. We work together on a piece called Film Don't Lie, especially during the season where we look back at each of Georgia's games. In the offseason, we look back at some of the careers to this point from Georgia players. And one of our favorite series, we started doing this really a couple years ago, I believe, is looking at the PFF grades. Again, not our opinions necessarily of where we would rank Georgia's players in terms of who's best or worst, however. But when you look at the total grade last season, which factors in every single snap that they played, how did Georgia's players stack up in their final grade? So we're running down this list. We're up to number 16 today. And Brent, it is Kendall Milton, running back for the Dogs, who will get, I would say, infinitely more touches heading into the season simply because you lose your top two starting running backs. And Milton, with the talent he has and the body he has, it's his time to shine.
It is, and it is his time to shine. And it's one where, what have we seen from him in 2 seasons? 170 total snaps in those 2 seasons. We've seen just glimpses. And it's now where hopefully you just get to see a full season of him, because you know that the potential, obviously the recruiting ranking being a 5-star recruit, but just the potential, the ability, it's all there. Size, speed, everything is there that you would say, all right, this is one of the best running backs in the league, in the Power 5, that kind of thing. We just need to see it. And I'm ready to see it in 2022.
You mentioned 5-star running back from Clovis, California, Buchanan High School there, at a high school listed at 6'1", 215 pounds. I like to always see how that compares to what the official listing is over at GeorgiaDogs.com. And it's very close. They have him just at 5 pounds heavier at 6'1", 220. And, you know, going into the 2021 season, the hype train for Kendall Milton was there, thinking that he's going to be one of the feature pieces of the offense, really building on a couple of the glimpses, like you said, that we saw. But I'd say especially going into this season, hype train may be down a little bit because of the injuries, and you just haven't seen quite the production because he hasn't had the snaps. But overall potential for this guy, like he could be a top running back selected in the draft next year. Now, that doesn't always mean you'll be a first-round pick or anything just because of how running backs are valued. But you let him have a good, I keep saying it, a 7-month job interview, and he'll be right up there with the top of them because of his body and maybe the lack of reps.
Yeah, I know. And even this offseason, we got – and the beautiful thing for me that we saw in the spring game was the ability in the offense using him as a receiver. That's where – because of how the running back room is right now, where you had Kenny McIntosh and Milton there with Cook and White, you had those guys that you could always feel comfortable with in any way. Now you really got those main two, Dejan Edwards also there, that at some point we're going to talk about on this list. But the ability for those two guys, both Milton and McIntosh, to be used in any way, run, pass, if they're going to be the majority of the snaps, getting the majority of the snaps, at least when it's not an undecided game, or when it is an undecided game, I guess, when it's not, not in garbage time, I think that's going to be key for the offense this year, because for the most part, if he's been in the game, he has 91 rushes. He's played 171 total snaps. If he's in the game, he's getting the ball to run it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we always talk about the amount of tight ends that Georgia has the possibility to field for this upcoming season. Well, if you have all those tight ends, that means you're probably running the RPOs, and part of the RPO is the run. And so I think that's where a lot of the yards can come from the running backs. Let's get into the tape here for Kendall Milton.
And the first 2 runs that we're going to see here, this is where it's just like, okay, ability, tons and tons of ability.
He keeps his head still, gets his shoulders kind of facing. He lost the ball at the end. That's not a big deal. He's at the sideline, but yeah, they would say something to him after about it.
This one here is the next level jump cut. Like if you just play it through and then boom, next level jump cut, and then the ability to accelerate off of that, that's stuff you can't teach. I mean, you can work on it as much as you possibly can, but being able to do that and instinctively do that in a game, there's certain things from a running back perspective that you just can't teach. And boom, that's ability you can't teach.
He's explosive. He's also a physical runner, so he can do a lot of good work in the tackles. That starts there and kind of weaves outside.
Beautiful.
Great run for the first down and more.
Beautiful. And the next one against, I think it's Kentucky. Yes. Same side, pull and lead. A little bit sort of a anti-scheme thing. Yes. And this is one where, you see almost, took it to the house, just inch getting pushed out. But the patience here, let it set up and then I think it was, I forget who it was that we picked on and Film Don't Lie for this game, the number. I want to say it's one of the linebackers that takes a horrible angle on this play and opens a humongous hole. But letting that guy be wrong right there, I think it's 5. It gets blocked. Yeah, 5. Letting him be wrong, and then you taking advantage of that and just exploding through the hole. And I will say, especially what we just saw there was more of a man-on-man, power, big-on-big type scheme, and then pull and lead, where the run is, in essence, set up for you. Counter plays that Georgia runs where it's, hey, this one guy's kicking out, the next guy is leading. I'm going to cut inside of that. That it's kind of defined for you in a way. What I want to see from Milton this year is what we saw from Zamir White this past season, where on just inside zone runs, where the decision of where the ball ends up is often the running backs. The defense somewhat determines that in terms of how they play and how they move. But it's the running back being patient and then being able to accelerate into tight windows. Zamir White did that at a level last season as a senior that we hadn't seen from him at all in the previous 2 seasons. Milton has had a tendency in a little bit, especially in the inside zone running game, to, in essence, run into the back of his guys a little bit too much when stuff's not there to develop. Be a little more patient, like he is in this run, and then use that ability that's there for days to go explode and accelerate and get big-time gains.
That patience is so key. And when Le'Veon Bell, and I'm talking about the Jets version, I'm talking about the Steelers version, when he was kind of transforming a bit of how the running back position was played at the pro level, it was because of his patience to say, I can kind of hang out here for a second until I see what happens here and see what lane best works for me. Because he knew, you pretty much have one cut and you go right now if you're a running back in college football. Maybe there are some that can do other things, or in the NFL. But when Milton looks at this, he says, I got to let my linemen get where they're getting to, and then I can kind of assess what the defense is doing from there. And so, I mean, watch. It seems like a long time if you watch it here. It really isn't. But just taking a second to stop and assess, that's beautiful. And he doesn't do it in a way that he has to kind of restart.
And then dudes just fall off of him because he's so big.
Yeah.
Like big and strong, fast.
If he can be a patient runner, he can be among the best in the country.
I agree. And it's one of the things, like even me, like in all the coaching and teaching kids that I've done, patience to the hole, accelerate through it. Yep. Like it's that, and I'm sure obviously they work on those things all day long, but that is, you have to ingrain that into your brain as a running back, patience to the hole and then accelerating through it.
All right, let's see another play against Wildcats.
Now, this is one of the things that I wrote an entire article on the website about, that it's just an unknown. And it's an unknown because they just haven't, when you look at the combination of Milton, Kenny McIntosh, and then Dayne Edwards, they just haven't had the pass block. I think the number was something around, like, Cook and White had 40-something career or pass block snaps last season. The 3 of those players combined have had 41 in their career, like less than the other 2 had last season. So this is one where, just that moment of, hey, the linebacker's not coming, I can get out in the pass, versus, he is coming. Those things, those are going to come with experience, and he's just going to have to do it, and we're going to get to see more and more of it this season.
When your running back is going in the opposite direction, it's usually not a good thing.
And this is a successful play, by the way. I think this is the one that gets completed to 80 Mitchell, right? Yeah. And
that's the beauty of PFF, right? Is that Kendall Milton did not do a good job on this play, but it worked out for Georgia anyway.
Yes, and it's also the beauty of Georgia's scheme. They're not Mississippi State, where it's just drop back all day, every day, and they're going to put their running backs and make the extra guy in pass pro. Like you look at the top of the screen, Fitzpatrick is in blocking in the play on this play. Given the fact that Georgia is very play action heavy now, that helps your running backs. It helps everybody be better pass blockers. It's all the screens, all the quick game, all that stuff alleviates some of that pressure on your backs to be just big time pass blockers. But here's the thing: you think about, right? You're talking about a finite number of plays. What was one of Georgia's biggest plays last season? The touchdown to A.D. Mitchell, and anyone and everyone remembers James Cook blocking Christian Harris, the blitzing linebacker on that play, giving Stetson the ability to slide and make the throw. So it's a vital part of the thing, and they haven't done it. We'll get to see more of it in actual games this fall.
Obviously, I don't want to seem like we're trashing Kendall Milton on this play because it's actually not like it's not great, but it's not as terrible in the sense that like he at least altered 10's path here. Because like, look, Stetson has the ball in a very clean pocket at this point.
Yep.
So like at this point, you can say he's going to have as much time as he needs to.
Yeah, and if you look at his like from a numbers perspective, he's had 18 him in his career, and Milton in his career, 18 pass block snaps, 2 QB pressures allowed, none last season actually, because the ball's out.
Yeah.
But again, it's more of an unknown, and it's a part of his game that we're going to get to see this fall. Hey, have you worked on it? Have you improved? And can you do it?
By Milton just simply occupying this space here, which comes a little bit to the left of the center, it forces 10 rather than taking what would be his most direct path. I'll clear this screen so it's not quite as cluttered. His most direct path would be right there. Well, Kendall Milton is in the way there. So at least by being there, it says I have to take this step out this way. Now, Milton zooms past him, which is the issue here, right? But
he thinks he's able to go and get into the route, and then can't.
But watch how 10 has to alter, takes a step there. Like that half a beat right there is enough for this pass to get out and be super clean. So in that sense, Milton, this is not a zero for him on this play because he at least occupied some space and forced the defense to do something else. It's just that it could have been way better.
Yep.
So I think that's important because a lot of times we'll say, oh, you whiffed on a block. No, it's not always that simple. Like football's a spacing game.
Yes, and it's also one of those things where we just haven't seen a lot of it. And now he gets to do it, and now we get to see it in game action. But this, by the way, this is one of the ones where, like, if you look at the past part of our series on this with Kelee Ringo, this is my favorite play of his career thus far, outside maybe the one run he had where he just looked like Nick Chubb Jr. As a freshman. But, like, this is stuff that these are things you can't teach. And this is such a great heads-up play from him. And many remember it. It's an incompletion, but Kendall Milton is the only one who says, ooh, that might be a fumble. I'm going to get on the daggone ball. I'm going to use this way more than anyone else on the field. And it ended up being ruled a fumble. Phenomenal play from him. Just absolutely phenomenal play.
Play through a whistle, right? Or if you see a ball, go jump on it, even if the whistle has blown.
100%.
Because you never, especially with the way replays happen these days, like he stays focused the whole time. So, mentally he's engaged in the game.
Always. And that's just, you love to see that. And that's going to, and like we said before in the beginning of this, we've only seen him for 170 snaps. The potential is limitless. I mean, I know in one of the scrimmages this past offseason, he took 180 to the house and was, told it was one of the best runs that this person had seen in person in a long, long, long time. Like, that potential is there. Now let's just hope we get to see it on a week-to-week basis.
It seems to be that Georgia's top 2 running backs become complementary in the sense that, like, they do different things better than the other. Zamir White between the tackles more frequently, kind of a lower downhill runner. James Cook, more of in the passing game, but then also kind of doing some more flares and some screens and just kind of he's in a perfect spot with the Bills now. So, like, I'm not, like, disparaging any of that. What I'm saying is that, like, Kenny McIntosh has much more experience catching the ball out of the backfield for Georgia. That does not mean that Kendall Milton cannot do it. I'm just saying if it's an obvious passing down that where the running back is either chipping or releasing or just running a route the whole time, I'm probably expecting Kenny McIntosh to be the primary target there. However, Kendall Milton being between the tackles, that's going to be huge for Georgia. They need that.
It definitely falls into line that he is more of the Zamir White role and McIntosh is the Cook role. But again, if those two guys are playing the majority of snaps and you're not getting the third, like in the past couple of years, that third and fourth guy, McIntosh and Milton, they've gotten a good chunk of snaps. If that third and fourth guys aren't getting as many snaps because one, they're just young, two, you don't, I mean, who knows, for whatever reason, injuries, anything, then the ability for them to be, I guess, not predictable or unpredictable when either is in the game is very key. And I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see, and that's why we saw it, I think, in the spring game. It's like, okay, we got to get both of these guys because we know McIntosh can do it. We got to get Milton more involved in the passing game. I think he has 3 career catches. Like, getting more involved. That way we are not a predictable offense when one, as if he's in the game, it's run or play action. Like that's as an offense, you have to be able to have that unpredictability factor. And I think you're going to see that. But again, I just want to see it. I want to see it week in and week out because I think it's going to be great.
I'm going to be curious to see if Milton is one of those players that just gets better with each carry. Like I thought Nick Chubb was that way, where it's like you kind of had to grease him up sometimes for 5-7 carries. Get
him into that 18 to 19 to 20 range.
Yeah, and like that, like 12 to 20 was like special in a lot of cases. Like if you get, I think the Nick Chubb in the Belk Bowl against Louisville is one of the best performances I've ever seen, period, in any sport whatsoever. Like he just completely dominated that game. I'm wondering if Milton has a little bit of that in him of like, yeah, you let me get going and I'll see what happens. I'm
going to wear on the defense. They're going to feel me in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. You think about Zamir White. Let's see, 2 games with more than 15 carries last season. Yeah. I mean, it's just not how Georgia's done in the past. But
I think a trait of a championship team, though, and I've seen it with Alabama and LSU, is that when you get a lead, you have the ability to put the hammer down, and that usually takes a strong, physical, durable running back, or at least a pair of them. You saw LSU have it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You saw it with Najee Harris with Alabama. Can Kendall Milton be that for Georgia when it's crunch time? We saw it with Zamir White. Like Zamir White iced multiple games for Georgia over the years. It's a critical role to have on the team.
Yep. And like I said, I'm excited to see it. I want to see it week in and week out.
Kendall Milton comes in at number 16 on our list of top returning Bulldogs based off of PFF grades from last year. That means we have 15 to go. We'll continue running these down here on our YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed to what we're doing here at our UGA Sports YouTube channel, and go over to UGAsports.com and check out all of the off-season content we have there, which it ain't off-season for the recruiting folks because it's prime time to build that class of 2023. And the way that they come in early, a lot of those guys will be in Athens in January, a part of the team. But that's not necessarily the specialty that Brent and I have. We cover the team that's here and then the team that's departing and kind of where their legacy leaves. And so this is an extension of previewing the 2022 season, but also a lot of these names you'll be seeing in the NFL draft. I think Kendall Milton will be one of those in the draft process come spring next year. So we'll analyze that piece of it then. But for now, thanks for watching our top returning Bulldog series. We'll be back with the top 15 here on our YouTube page, and we'll see you